She knew what it felt like to be on the receiving end of a cruel rumor or joke. At school, the other kids would brush it off as nothing, saying she was only going through a dark stage. At home, her parents would sometimes coddle her, sometimes not, always saying she was just sad, and it was normal for kids her age to be just sad. The worst thing was that she believed them. She truly thought she was just sad, or just a punk, or just messed up because that's what they told her. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, honorable judges, fellow voyage members, and special guests. Depression. Now, I know for a fact that all, or at least most of you, know what it is I'm talking about, and I can almost guarantee it has touched 50% or more of the families here today in some way, shape, or form, depression. It's such a big word, don't you think? Depression is feelings. That may have been what you were told your whole life, but do you really know? Today I will present to you the following things: what depression is, why depression is, and how it can be helped. First off is the what of the situation. According to the Oxford Dictionary of Modern English, depression is feelings of unadorned despondency and dejection. In simpler terms, it's a loss of hope, by a lack of courage, and leads to being ruthlessly downhearted. So now that you know the definition of the key word under discussion, can you see how some people might mistake this abysmal illness for simple melancholy? Yeah, that's right. Depression is a sickness, an unwell of the mind. In reference to helpguide.org, depression doesn't only have severe psychological symptoms, it also has physical symptoms, which include feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, a loss of interest in daily activities, appetite or weight changes, sleep changes, anger or irritability, loss of energy, self-loathing, reckless behavior, concentration issues, and unexplained aches and pains. Here, you can see that 4 out of the 10 commonly known symptoms of depression are physical, and 5 are psychological. One of them is a mashup between the two and is in a category of its own. Personally, I think it'd be fair to say that depression doesn't only tear away at your mind, but also your body. Do you see how being depressed is different than being just sad? And do you see how much more dangerous it is? Depression is feelings, yes, that is in part true, but it is painful. It is a burden. It is ominous, present, persistent, and powerful, and if you do not stop it, it has the strength to rule over someone for the rest of their life. Now, I feel like I should tell you something. I wouldn't worry about having depression based on the list of symptoms I describe. It is very normal to show those throughout your life, like if you've experienced a death or loss of a loved one, for example. Only be concerned if you or someone you know has been showing 5 or more of these symptoms very firmly for 2 full weeks or more. You know, a victim of depression I'd interviewed told me that being depressed was like living in a black hole. It was seemingly endless and hopeless, and no matter how badly you wanted to get out, it keeps on sucking you back in. For victims, depression seems eternal, and because of that empty blackness, they may resort to killing themselves in order to escape it. And as much as we all hate to admit it, suicide is real. Now, as a loved one, it is very important to know the warning signs of suicide, so you can do everything in your power to stop it from happening. The signs of suicide typically include talking about killing or harming oneself, conveying strong feelings of futility or being trapped, an unusual obsession with death or dying, acting recklessly or as if they have a death wish, calling or visiting people to say goodbye, getting affairs in order, saying things like "I'm done" or "I want out," and a sudden switch from being extremely depressed to calm and happy. So now that we're aware of what depression is, why don't we go on to why depression is? Despite what many people seem to think, and believe me, I talked to several of various ages, depression is not a choice. I cannot stress enough how important this is, so I will say it one more time: depression is not a choice. This fact may seem so irrelevant or false to the average man or woman, but to a veteran, current, or potential sufferer, this could be life-saving information. Knowing that depression is not by their own choice, but by biological, genetic, environmental, and sociological causes can be the reason they decide not to raise their knife, or to tie their rope, or to stand on the edge of a building, knowing they're not to blame could save their life. Though it is true that external stimuli like loneliness, stress, relationship issues, lack of support, and a myriad amount of other things can help in leading to depression, do not mistake them as causes of depression. These things can help in leading to these types of feelings, but do not cause it. They only pull up what was always there, lying beneath the skin. According to NHS Choices, it has been scientifically proven that depression is genetic, which means if there's a long line of depression in your family, the chances of you getting the illness are high. That does not mean at all that you will have depression indefinitely, but the risks are much greater than that of someone with a depression-free family. As well, in reference to the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, it has been shown that depression can be a symptom of other cognitive disorders like anxiety and bipolar disorder, just like anxiety and bipolar disorder can be symptoms of depression. You cannot tell me that if you're anxious, you don't think about suicide or how low your life can be because of your disorder. You can't tell me that if you're bipolar, the lows of your illness do not correspond almost exactly with the basis of depression. And you cannot tell me if you're depressed, you're not anxious about someone seeing your scars, and you don't put on a brave face and pretend you're something that you're not. Why is there depression? Why is there anxiety or bipolar disorder? Why is there schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, dementia, or OCD? Because we are human. And some of us have had our human nature either amplified or muted against our will. But there is good news. Our disorders can be helped, never cured, for such a thing is beyond human power, but they can be helped. Anyone suffering from any type of psychological disorder can go to psychologists or psychiatrists for help of the mind or conscience. What people cannot see, they usually believe it is beyond their power to heal, but these types of doctors have proven that wrong. For some, medication prescribed by a certified doctor can make all the difference. It has been proven that in bipolar, anxious, or depressed people, meditation works wonders because it calms, soothes, and relaxes the mind and body. And in these types of people, they're almost too high-strung to think of such positive things. There's also spirituality, which really does work for some people. And of course, no one could forget about one of the most commonly known forms of help, which is support. Now, to go deeper into this thought, let me paint a picture for you. Horses graze in herds, and people live in families. Our basic unit of togetherness is family. That is why support from friends, groups, and especially family can be the most important thing, because think, when an injured horse is cut off from the rest of the herd, it will not survive because it won't have the support of the herd to keep it afloat. For those reasons, support should be the first type of help to be sought, because without support from those around us, we won't have the strength to seek better assistance. So now you know what depression is, and how to recognize the signs of the illness and potential suicidal thoughts. Why depression is, and how it is placed upon people against their will and can be linked to a myriad amount of other illnesses, and how it can be helped. And the first step to help is support. Depression. It's not such a big word now, is it? I am now ready for any questions that the judges may have.
All right, I have a question for you. So you seem extremely passionate about this topic, and so I'm wondering, where does your passion stem from, and what do you want to do personally to contribute to helping people with depression?
The question was, I seem quite passionate about depression, and where does my passion stem from? And how would I
personally contribute to helping people with depression?
And how would I personally contribute to helping people with depression? Well, you are correct. I am quite passionate about this, and the reason why is because a very, very, very close friend of mine had depression for about 3 or 4 years, and she didn't really understand what was going on with it until about a year or 2 ago, and she's like, hey, and now she's recuperating. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because I want to know how to help people without forcing help onto them. And I want them to know what's going on with them, like my friend didn't know what was going on with her. and how I would plan to help people with depression in the future. It is a personal goal of mine to become a psychiatrist when I grow up. So I believe that having that as my career choice would very greatly help with future depression victims.
Good girl.